Well, this beta just came out like last week.
To
Yo, it got some dope features. It got the virtual camera feature. It got the screenshot feature. You know, that's why the yo, this it got good. It got features where I don't have to actually right click and hit properties to get to the properties. It actually comes up underneath the thing now, so I can actually like, yo, it's a lot better.
See, you didn't realize that Khary was your little brother.
I know. She was like, "Wait, that's his brother." Yeah, this is one of the three. This is one of the three developers that I've worked with over the last 20 years.
So,
Cheryl says she was thinking the same thing, but she didn't want to call me a sellout.
Oh man, slow down.
So maybe that's what I will leave the description with for this episode is Khary a sellout? Find out at this mark, you know.
question, did you go through the news and everything?
I went through a lot of the news. I went through my early news. I didn't go through all the news. You know? I still do have some news. Did you hear about the Seattle police officer that was captured riding his bike over somebody's head?
Yeah. No.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, I think he got fired for it or suspended for it. Let me see.
Oh, fired. Oh, suspended. Oh.
Yeah, they're gonna charge him for not having safer tires.
You know what he got, right?
They're gonna charge him for not wearing a helmet.
So, a Seattle police officer captured on video rolling his bicycle over the head of a protester who was laying on the street is now on, guess what?
Desk duty.
Administrative leave. Yep.
Oh, he's on vacation. He's on vacation right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Seattle Police Department said in a statement,
a full investigation, I'm sure.
The Seattle Police Department said in a statement Thursday that the actions of the officer, who has not been identified, are being investigated independently by the Kings County Sheriff Office at the department's request. The department said, you know what, let's get another department to investigate this because we can't investigate ourselves.
And video's not enough? Was it on video? It was on video.
Yeah, it was on video. So they said, you know, let's get another department.
Just open and shut.
They said, let's get another department to say this guy's guilty because we don't want to say our own guy's guilty.
Basically.
That's what that one's pretty much saying.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else? What else I got here on tonight's news? Oh, there was another report that we all knew this already, but the report is homes in Black and Latino neighborhoods still undervalued 50 years after U.S. banned using race in real estate appraisals. So we actually had a story about this. What's that?
About the woman that had her husband take down all the pictures of them?
We spoke about that story, but this is actually a second story that's just saying, you know what? We're actually confirming.
It was confirmed. They had their house appraised, and they had a lot of...
No, but this one is saying racial inequality in home values is greater today than it was 40 years ago. You know? So they're saying pretty much, even though this law was put into effect, it had no fucking effect at all. You know?
It's says, the same thing as the one-time thing. Come on, whatever.
Right, but now they actually have numbers to actually back their shit. You know? Somebody's actually showing some numbers. You know?
Okay, so can I ask you this? Are they going to go back and assess value to these homes that they...
You are now tuned into Khary's Crib. Khary's Crib. Khary's Crib. Khary's Crib.
What's good in 10 pretty people? Wednesday evening, a special night of Khary's Crib Live. You know, I'm glad you tuned in for the dopest live stream of something like a podcast, something like a newscast, and something like a showcase. Even though tonight we're doing none of that. We're going to be watching a debate. We're going to be watching I guess you could say this is a political versus battle, maybe? What you think? Huh? Pence versus Harris? Huh? What you think? What's going on all my house guests in the chat this evening? I'm glad you tuned in. I'm glad you checked in to watch this debate with us. We're going to be checking this out. We got a few views we're going to be looking at, you know. I got a view like this, you know. I got a view like that, you know. I got a view of me. And I got a view of me and Mimi because Mimi's checked in with us as well. You know, she's the political one between the two of us. I'm not super political. I'm I can use a Dr. Umar term. My political IQ is not that of a genius yet, you know? It will be soon, though. It will be soon. Have you ever seen one of those videos of him talk about his political IQ and people's political IQ?
Khary, I can hear myself.
You can hear yourself?
Yeah.
Let's see. How can you hear yourself? Let me see.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Cheryl.
Can you hear yourself now?
Yep.
Let me see.
Huh.
Oh, wait. What about there? How about now?
Yep.
Still hear yourself? That's odd. Let me see. I'm not sure what's going on over there.
Hold on. Let me see something.
All right.
No, that's not going to work.
Yeah, but we're going to be checked into this debate tonight. They haven't started yet. You know, I actually have a nice little shot over here of the debate. I believe this is what's going to be looking like. They look a little more civil. They're not going to be standing and shit like Trump and Biden was. You know, looks like they're going to be a little more relaxed. It looks like they have dividers over there as well.
Yes, they do.
Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it looks like they got dividers.
There's an aerial view that you can see the dividers a bit clearer.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer hear myself, by the way.
Okay, good. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in on this real quick.
Hold on, Danny. No, you did not. Danny in the chat said they are on Kamala time.
You know what?
You're not right.
Let me turn the chat on. I don't have the chat turned on at the moment. Let me turn this on. And I got my little zoomed in view over here as well. You know, so let's see.
Oh, look at the teleprompter. All right, you got good view.
Boom, there we go. You know, so we got that zoomed in there. I got this view here. So we could actually see what's going on there, see what's going on with the chat. You know, maybe I should make this view a little more zoomed in, actually. Do we really need it this far out? Not really, right?
Oh, the lady's starting to smile. She's talking.
I think I could zoom that out.
Can you change your view?
What's that?
Can you change the view? She started talking.
Did she?
Yeah.
No, I can't change the view to her. Let's see. Let's see. How's that volume to y'all?
They're in Kingsbury Hall. Copy.
Senator Harris and Vice President Pence, thank you.
Mike Pence is big too?
We're meeting as President Trump and the First Lady continue to undergo treatment in Washington after testing positive for COVID-19. We send our thoughts and prayers to them for their rapid and complete recovery and for the recovery of everyone afflicted by the coronavirus. The two campaigns and the Commission on Presidential Debates have agreed to the ground rules.
How are you?
I'm here to enforce them on behalf of the millions of Americans who are watching. One note, No one in either campaign
what you doing?
or at the commission or anywhere else
Updating the
has
chat
been
over
told in
here so
advance
it
what
doesn't
topics I'll
disappear
raise
like that.
or what questions I'll ask.
How's the volume
This
sound to y'all?
90-minute
Is it,
debate
is
will
it
be
loud
divided
enough?
into 9 segments of about 10
Guys,
minutes.
can we get a thumbs up
I'll
if the
begin a
volume
segment
is
by
good for
posing a
you?
question to each of you, sometimes the same question, sometimes a different question on the same topic. You will then have 2 minutes to answer without interruption by me or the other candidate. Then we'll take 6 minutes or so to discuss the issue. At that
Volume is
point,
good.
although there will always be
Thank
more
you,
to say,
Thomas.
we'll move on to the next topic. We want a debate that is lively, but Americans also deserve a discussion that is civil. These are tumultuous times, but we
She's telling
can
them,
and
y'all,
will have a
y'all need to
respectful exchange about
not
the
be
big
like the last
issues
people.
facing our nation. Let's begin with the ongoing pandemic that has cost our
Make it
country
entertaining, but
so
don't be
much.
foolish now.
Senator Harris, the coronavirus is not under control. Over the past week, Johns Hopkins reports that 39 states have had more COVID cases over the past 7
You think
days
she letting them know,
than
like,
any week
look,
before.
I'm not the other
9
moderator.
states
I ain't
have
playing
set
with
new
you.
records.
Yeah, I think so.
Even if a vaccine is released soon, the next administration will face hard choices. What would a Biden administration do in January and February that a Trump administration wouldn't do? Would you impose new lockdowns for businesses and schools and hotspots? A federal mandate to wear masks? You have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Thank you, Susan. Well, the American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in our country. And here are the facts. 210,000 dead people in our country in just the last several months. Over 7 million people who have contracted this disease. 1 in 5 businesses closed. We're looking at frontline workers who have been treated like sacrificial workers. We are looking at over 30 million people who in the last several months had to file for unemployment. And here's the thing. On January 28th, the vice president and the president were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were informed that it's lethal in consequence, that it is airborne, that it will affect young people, and that it would be contracted because it is airborne. And they knew what was happening and they didn't tell you. Can you imagine if you knew on January 28th, as opposed to March 13th, what they knew, what you might have done to prepare? They knew and they covered it up. The president said it was a hoax. They minimized the seriousness of it. The president said, you're on one side of his ledger if you wear a mask, you're on the other side of his ledger if you don't. And in spite of all of that, today they still don't have a plan. They still don't have a plan. Well, Joe Biden does. And our plan is about what we need to do around a national strategy for contact tracing, for testing, for administration of the vaccine, and making sure that it will be free for all. That is the plan that Joe Biden has and that I have, knowing that we have to get a hold of what has been going on, and we need to save our country. And Joe Biden is the best leader to do that, and frankly, this administration has forfeited their right to re-election based on this.
Thank you, Senator Harris.
What y'all think of that response?
Vice President Pence, more than 210,000 Americans have died of COVID-19 since February. The U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population is higher than that of almost every other wealthy nation on earth. For instance, our death rate is 2.5 times that of Canada next door. You head the administration's coronavirus task force. Why is the U.S. death toll as a percentage of our population higher than that of almost every other wealthy country? And you have 2 minutes to respond without interruption.
Susan, thank you. And I want to thank the Commission and the University of Utah for hosting this event. And Senator Harris, it's a privilege to be on the stage with you. You know, our nation has gone through a very challenging time this year. But I want the American people to know that from the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first. Before there were more than 5 cases in the United States, all people who had returned from China, President Donald Trump did what no other American president had ever done. And that was he suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Senator Joe Biden opposed that decision. He said it was xenophobic and hysterical. But I can tell you, having led the White House Coronavirus Task Force, that decision alone by President Trump bought us invaluable time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. And I believe it saved hundreds of thousands of American lives. Because with that time, we were able to reinvent testing. More than 115 million tests have been done to date. We were able to see to the delivery of billions of supplies so our doctors and nurses had the resources and support they needed. And we began, really, before the month of February was out, to develop a vaccine and to develop medicines and therapeutics that have been saving lives all along the way. And under President Trump's leadership, Operation Warp Speed, we believe, will have literally tens of millions of doses of a vaccine before the end of this year. The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot like what President Trump and I and our task force have been doing every step of the way. I mean, quite frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about. And I think the American people know that this is a president who has put the health of America first, and the American people, I believe with my heart, can be proud of the sacrifices they have made. It's saved countless American lives.
Senator Harris, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at over 210,000 dead bodies in our country, American lives that have been lost, families that are grieving that loss. And you know, the vice president is the head of the task force and knew on January 28th how serious this was. And then thanks to Bob Woodward, we learned that they knew about it. And then when that was exposed, the vice president said, when asked, well, why didn't y'all tell anybody? He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Well, let's get
no, but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
I want to add, but Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have to
I'm
weigh
speaking.
in.
Yep, you can have 15 more seconds, and then we'll give the vice president a chance to
respond. So I want to ask the American people, how calm were you when you were panicked about where you're going to get your next roll of toilet paper? How calm were you when your kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back? How calm were you when your children couldn't see your parents because you were afraid they could kill them?
Let's give Vice President Pence a chance to respond. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute to respond.
You know, there's not a day gone by that I haven't thought of every American family that's lost a loved one.
Would it be bad if I started hitting gunshots?
And I want all of you to know that you'll always be in our hearts and in our prayers. But when you say what the American people have done over these last 8 months hasn't worked, that's a great disservice to the sacrifices the American people have made. The reality, if I may finish.
Oh, snap.
The reality is, Dr. Fauci said, everything that he told the president in the Oval Office, the president told the American people. Now, President Trump, I will tell you, has boundless confidence in the American people, and he always spoke with confidence that we'd get through this together. But when you say it hasn't worked, when Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and our medical experts came to us in the second week of March, they said if the president didn't take the unprecedented step of shutting down roughly half of the American economy, that we could lose 2.2 million Americans. Now, that's the reality.
Thank you.
They also said to us, if we did everything right, Susan, we could still lose more than 200,000 Americans.
Vice President
now, one
Pence,
life lost is too many, Susan. But the American people, I believe, deserve credit for the sacrifices that they have made, putting the health of their family and their neighbors first, our doctors, our nurses, our first responders.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
And I'm going to speak up on behalf of what the American people have done.
Vice President Pence, you were in the front row in a Rose Garden event 11 days ago at what seems to have been a super spreader event for senior administration and congressional officials. No social distancing, few masks, and now a cluster of coronavirus cases among those who were there. How can you expect Americans to follow the administration's safety guidelines to protect themselves from COVID when you at the White House?
She need a mute button. She needs to cut their mic.
Well, the American people have demonstrated over the last 8 months that when given the facts, they're willing to put the health of their families and their neighbors and people they don't even know first. President Trump and I have great confidence in the American people and their ability to take that information and put it into practice. In the height of the epidemic, when we were losing a heartbreaking number of 2,500 Americans a day, we surged resources to New Jersey and New York and New Orleans and Detroit. We told the American people what needed to be done, and the American people made the sacrifices. When the outbreak in the Sun Belt happened this summer, again, Americans stepped forward. But the reality is the work of the President of the United States goes on. A vacancy on the Supreme Court of the United States has come upon us, and the President introduced Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Thank you, Vice
But
President.
at that, if I may say, that Rose Garden event, there's been a great deal of speculation about it. My wife Karen and I were there and honored to be there. Many of the people who were at that event, Susan, actually were tested for coronavirus, and it was an outdoor event, which all of our scientists regularly and routinely advise. The difference here is President Trump and I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about
You're not answering nothing.
Not just mandates with the coronavirus, but a government takeover of health care,
Thank you,
the
Vice
Green New
President
Deal, all government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
Let's talk about respecting the American people. You respect the American people when you tell them the truth.
Yo, he didn't answer. He
Nothing.
hit a
Be a
different
leader,
point.
speaking of those things
That had
you
nothing
may
to do
not
with her
want people
question.
to hear, but they
And
need
now
to hear so
taking
they
up
can
extra
protect
time.
themselves. But this administration stood on information that if you had as a parent, if you had as a worker, knowing you didn't have enough money saved up, and now you're standing in a food line because of the ineptitude.
Let's start a petition to get Samuel L. Jackson to moderate.
So let's talk about caring about the American
Shut
people.
the
American
fuck
people
up.
have to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked
No,
about
Vice
It is
President
asking too much of the people.
Mm.
That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect
Susan,
their
the
parents
President-
and
No,
their
I'm sorry.
children.
Kamala
Moderator's
Harris,
trying to hold
Senator
it down.
Harris, I'm sorry.
It's fine, I'm Kamala.
No, you're Senator Harris to me. For life to get back to normal, Dr. Anthony Fauci and other experts say that most of the people who can be vaccinated need to be vaccinated. But half of Americans now say they wouldn't take a vaccine if it was released now. If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the public health professionals, if Dr. Fauci, if the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Vice President Pence, there have been a lot of repercussions from this pandemic. In recent days, the president's diagnosis of COVID-19 has underscored the importance of the job that you hold and that you are seeking. That's our second topic tonight.
The next time he interrupts her, I need for Ms. Harris, Senator Harris, to put her foot down like, what you won't do is that.
President the United States has ever had. Donald Trump will be 74 years old on Inauguration Day. Joe Biden will be 78 years old. That already has raised concerns among some voters, concerns that have been sharpened by President Trump's hospitalization in recent days. Vice President Pence, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with President Trump about safeguards or procedures when it comes to the issue of presidential disability? And if not, do you think you should? You have 2 minutes without interruption.
Well, Susan, thank you, although I would like to go back.
I think we need to move on to the issue of...
Move on, B.
Because
I'm sipping on some sweet bitch.
Sweet bitch.
Pause.
In record time,
Pause.
in unheard of time, in less than a year. We have 5 companies in phase 3 clinical trials, and we're right now producing tens of millions of doses. So the fact that you continue to undermine public confidence
Tens of millions of doses of clinical trials?
If the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator,
There's currently a clinical trial in New York where they're looking for volunteers.
The reality is that we will have a
Who the
vaccine
fuck volunteers
before the end of this year,
unproven drugs?
and it will have the capacity to save countless American lives.
I'm guessing they're going to infect the people with COVID and then test it out.
How much does it pay?
It's just unacceptable. And let me
I don't
also
know.
say,
I don't do
the
medical
reality
trials.
is
What
when
I
you
look
talk
like.
about failure in this administration,
Absolutely not.
we actually do know what failure looks like in a pandemic. It was 2009. The swine flu arrived in the United States. Thankfully, it ended up not being as lethal as the coronavirus. But before the end of the year,
that wasn't a pandemic.
When Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, not 7.5 million people contracted the swine flu.
Did he say stop playing politics with people's lives? Does he not know who his president is?
As the coronavirus in 2009,
Pretty
when
much.
Joe Biden was vice president, we would have lost 2 million American lives. His own chief of staff, Ron Klain,
You know what I could do?
would say last year that it was pure luck that they did, quote, everything possible wrong. And we learned from that. They left the strategic national stockpile empty. They left an empty and hollow plan, but we still learned from it. And I think the American people, I'm going to say again, can be proud
Vice President Pence, I'm sorry,
of what we have done. And
Yo, your time is up, B.
Undermining confidence in a vaccine.
Senator Harris, let me ask you
They
the
need
same
somebody
question
like me
I asked
out there.
Vice President Pence, which is, have you had a conversation or reached an agreement with Vice President Biden?
Why do they
about
keep
safeguards
bringing up the
or
swine
procedures
flu?
when it
How
comes
about
to
you bring up
issue
the
of
Ebola
presidential
virus, the
disability?
one
And
where
if not, and
Trump
if you win the
said
election next month,
if it was him,
you
he
think
would
you
like
should?
leave
You have
office
2
or some
minutes
craziness?
uninterrupted.
Are you
So let me
kidding
tell
me?
you, first of all, the day I got
Cheryl says here in Beemore, they're paying
actually
people
a Zoom call.
$1,600.
Asking
For
me
trials,
to
I
serve
guess.
with him on this ticket was probably one of the most memorable
also
days of my
added a
life.
2-minute timer.
I thought about my mother, who came to the United States at the age of 19, gave birth to me at the age of 25 at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. And the thought that I'd be sitting here right now, I know would make her proud, and she must be looking down on this. Joe and I were raised in a very similar way. We were raised with values that are about hard work, about the value and the dignity of public service, and about the importance of fighting for the dignity of all people. And I think Joe asked me to serve with him because, I have a career that included being elected the first woman district attorney of San Francisco, where I created models of innovation for law enforcement in terms of reform of the criminal justice system. I was elected the first woman of color and black woman to be elected Attorney General of the state of California, where I ran the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice.
This
And
sound
there
like
I took on
gunshots should follow.
everything from transnational criminal organizations to the big banks that were taking advantage of homeowners to for-profit colleges that were taking advantage of veterans. And then, of course, now I serve in the United States Senate as only the second black woman ever elected to the United States Senate. I serve on the Senate Intelligence Committee, where I've been in regular receipt of classified information about threats to our nation and hotspots around the world. I've traveled the world. I've met with our soldiers in war zones. And I think Joe has asked me to serve with him because he knows that we share a purpose, which is about lifting up the American people. And after the 4 years that we have seen of Donald Trump unifying our country around our common values.
Time's up, B.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Neither President Trump nor Vice President Biden has released a sort of detailed health information that had become the modern norm until the 2016 election. And in recent days, President Trump's doctors have given misleading answers or refused to answer basic questions about his health. And my question to each of you in turn is this information voters deserve to know? Vice President Pence, would you like to go first?
Well, Susan, thank you. And let me say, on behalf of the President and the First Lady, how moved we've all been by the outpouring of prayers and concern for the President. And I do believe it's emblematic of the prayers and the concern that have ushered forth for every American impacted by the coronavirus. But the care the President received at Walter Reed Hospital, the White House doctors, was exceptional. And the transparency that they practiced all along the way will continue. The American people have a right to know about the health and well-being of their president, and will continue to do that. But I'm just extremely grateful and was more than a little moved by the broad and bipartisan support. And Senator, I want to thank you and Joe Biden for your expressions of genuine concern. And I also want to congratulate you, as I did on that phone call, on the historic nature of your nomination I never expected to be on this stage 4 years ago, so I know the feeling. But the reality is we've got an election before the American people in the midst of this challenging year. And the stakes have never been higher, but I think the choice has never been clearer.
I want to give Senator Harris a chance to...
She only gave him like a minute.
Question I asked, which is, do voters have a right to know more detailed health information about presidential candidates and especially about presidents, especially when they're facing some kind of challenge?
Absolutely, and that's why Joe Biden has been so incredibly transparent, and certainly by contrast, the president has not, both in terms of health records, but also let's look at taxes. We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. When I first heard about it, I literally said, "You mean $750,000?" And it was like, no, $750. We now know Donald Trump owes and is in debt for $400 million. And just so everyone is clear, when we say in debt, it means you owe money to somebody. And it'd be really good to know who the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, owes money to, because the American people have a right to know what is influencing the President's decisions. And is he making those decisions on the best interest of the American people, of you, or self-interest? So, Susan, I'm glad you asked about transparency, because it has to be across the board. Joe has been incredibly transparent over many, many years. The one thing we all know about Joe, he puts it all out there. He is honest, he is forthright, but Donald Trump, on the other hand, has been about covering up everything.
Thank you, Senator Harris. I want to give you a chance to respond, Vice President.
About the same time. She's about 4 more seconds.
Joe Biden spent 47 years in public life. I respect your public service as well.
Thank you.
But the American people have a president who's a businessman, he's a job creator, who's paid tens of millions of dollars in taxes, payroll taxes, property taxes. He's created tens of thousands of American jobs. And the president said those public reports are not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures the American people can review just as the law allows. But the distinction here is that Joe Biden, 47 years in public service, compared to President Donald Trump, who brought all of that experience 4 years ago.
Thank you, Vice
and
President.
turned this economy around by cutting taxes, rolling back regulation, unleashing
Vice
American
President.
energy,
Yes.
fighting
Time
for
is up,
free and
B.
fair trade, and all of that's
Thank you,
on the
Vice
line
President.
if
Yes.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
You know, that's a good
White.
segue into our third
Great
topic,
segue.
which is about the economy. This has been
I
another
played the,
aspect of
let's
life for
wrap it up,
Americans
B
that's been
music.
so affected by this coronavirus. We have a jobs crisis brewing.
Also,
On
I could,
Friday, we
if
learned
you
that
want
the
to, if you want me to
unemployment
pause it,
rate
so you want to
declined to
like talk about
7.9%
anything, just let me know,
in September,
because we don't. This
but
is
the
this is
job growth
pausable.
had stalled,
Remember,
and that
this
was
is
before
pausable.
the latest round of layoffs and furloughs in the airline industry at Disney and elsewhere. Hundreds of thousands of discouraged workers have stopped looking for work.
Nah, I'm
Nearly
good.
11 million
Keep it
jobs that
going.
existed at the beginning of the year haven't been replaced. Those hardest hit include Latinos, blacks, and women. Senator Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign has proposed new programs to boost the economy, and you would pay for that new spending by raising $4 trillion in taxes
Yeah, they really
on
don't be
wealthy
answering a lot of
individuals
questions.
and corporations. Some
just be,
economists warn that could curb entrepreneurial ventures that
talking.
fuel growth and create jobs. Would raising taxes put the recovery at risk? And you have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
Thank you. On the issue of the economy, I think there couldn't be a more fundamental difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden believes you measure the health and the strength of America's economy based on the health and the strength of the American worker and the American family. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing, which is why he passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America, leading to a $2 trillion deficit that the American people are going to have to pay for. On day one, Joe Biden will repeal that tax bill. He'll get rid of it. And what he'll do with the money is invest it in the American people. And through a plan that is about investing in infrastructure, something that Donald Trump said he would do. I remember hearing about some infrastructure week. I don't think it ever happened. But Joe Biden will do that. He'll invest in infrastructure. It's about upgrading our roads and bridges, but also investing in clean energy and renewable energy. Joe is going to invest that money in what we need to do around innovation. There was a time when our country believed in science and invested in research and development so that we were an innovation leader on the globe. Joe Biden will use that money to invest in education. So, for example, for folks who want to go to a 2-year community college, it will be free. If you come from a family that makes less than $125,000, you'll go to a public university for free. And across the board, we'll make sure that if you have student loan debt, it's cut by $10,000. That's how Joe Biden thinks about the economy, which is it's about investing in the people of our country as opposed to passing a tax bill, which had the benefit of letting American corporations go offshore to do their business.
Thank you,
You're
Senator
welcome.
Harris. Vice President Pence, your administration has been predicting a rapid and robust recovery, but the latest economic report suggests that's not happening. Should Americans be braced for an economic comeback that is going to take not months, but a year or more? You have 2 minutes to answer uninterrupted.
When President Trump and I took office, America had gone through the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression. Because when Joe Biden was vice president, they tried to tax and spend and regulate and bail our way back to a growing economy. President Trump cut taxes across the board. Despite what Senator Harris says, the average American family of 4 had $2,000 in savings in taxes. And with the rise in wages that occurred, most predominantly for blue-collar, hardworking Americans, the average household income for a family of 4 increased by $4,000 following President Trump's tax cuts. But America, you just heard Senator Harris tell you, on day one, Joe Biden's going to raise your taxes. It's really remarkable to think, Susan. I mean, right after a time where we're going through a pandemic that lost 22 million jobs at the height, we've already added back 11.6 million jobs because we had a president who cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, fought for free and fair trade, and secured $4 trillion from the Congress of the United States to give direct payments to families, saved 50 million jobs through the Paycheck Protection Program. We literally have spared no expense to help the American people and the American worker through this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want to raise taxes. They want to bury our economy under a $2 trillion Green New Deal, which you were one of the original co-sponsors of in the United States Senate. They want to abolish fossil fuels and ban fracking, which would cost hundreds of thousands of American jobs all across the heartland. And Joe Biden wants to go back to the economic surrender to China, that when we took office, half of our international trade deficit was with China alone. And Joe Biden wants to repeal all of the tariffs that President Trump put into effect to fight for American jobs and American workers. Joe Biden says democracy's on the ballot. Make no mistake about it, Susan. The American economy, the American comeback is on the ballot with 4 more years of growth and opportunity, 4 more years of President
You said, did he just lie in real time?
2021 is going to be the biggest economic year in the history of this country.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Senator Harris.
Well,
What did he lie about?
We saw enough of it in last week.
Yeah, he said, you just heard her, ladies and gentlemen. She said she's going to raise taxes the very first day.
Taxes on anybody who makes less than
That's not what she
$40,000 a
said.
year.
Repeal the Trump tax cuts.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
Well,
I'm speaking.
it'd be important if you said the truth.
Spicy.
Joe Biden said twice in the debate last week that he's going to repeal the Trump tax cuts. That was tax cuts that gave the average working family $2,000 in a tax break every single year. Senator,
that is
that's the math.
absolutely not true. That
Is he
tax
only
bill-
cutting? Is he only going to repeal part of the Trump tax cuts?
If you don't mind letting me finish, we can then
Please.
have a conversation, okay?
Please.
Okay. Joe Biden will not raise taxes on anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. Joe Biden is the one who, during the Great Recession, was responsible for the Recovery Act that brought America back. And now the Trump-Pence administration wants to take credit when they rode the coattails of Joe Biden's success for the economy that they had at the beginning of their term. Of course, now the economy is a complete disaster. But Joe Biden, on the one hand, did that. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who has reigned over a recession that is being compared to the Great Depression. On the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who was responsible with President Barack Obama for the Affordable Care Act, which brought health care to over 20 million Americans and protected people with pre-existing conditions. And what it also did is it saved those families who otherwise were going bankrupt because of hospital bills they could not afford. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who's in court right now, trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which means that you will lose protections if you have pre-existing conditions. And this is very important, Susan.
Yes,
and it's
but we need to give Vice President.
I'd just like to, he interrupted me, and I'd like to just finish, please. If you have a pre-existing condition, heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, they're coming for you. If you love someone who has a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are under the age of 26 on your parents' coverage, they're coming for you.
Senator Harris, thank you. Let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, I hope we have a chance to talk about
thoughts on that?
healthcare, because Obamacare was a disaster. The American people remember it well. And President Trump and I have a plan to
I didn't think it was a
healthcare
disaster.
and to protect
I didn't use it, though.
pre-existing conditions for every
I might not
American.
really know for sure.
But look, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. You yourself said on multiple occasions when you were running for president.
I'm just slightly behind you guys because I'm watching from my source.
And pointed
but I'll catch up. Un momento.
I guarantee that we will abolish fossil fuels.
Side note, I don't agree with that whole ghetto
Susan, that your newspaper, USA Today, said really wasn't that different from the original.
I think she sounds strong.
More taxes, more regulation, banning
I think
fracking,
she sounds passionate.
Fossil fuel,
I think she said what she said.
And economic surrender.
And if she sounds ghetto holding the degrees that she has, I mean, you know.
Will keep America growing. The V-shaped recovery that's underway right now will continue with 4 more years of President Donald Trump.
Thank you very, very much, Vice President Pence. Once again, you.
Okay, so let me sound ghetto real quick. First of all, we love all of our house guests.
Pence, I'd like to pose the
but what we will not tolerate, at least I won't tolerate,
this year we've
is
seen
that.
Record-setting.
Khary, give me the admin control for the last time.
And we have seen record-setting wildfires in the West.
You know.
Do you believe
that I need to block?
The scientific community has concluded that man-made climate change has made wildfires bigger, hotter, and more deadly, and have made hurricanes wetter, slower, and more damaging? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan. Well, first, I'm very proud of our record on the environment and on conservation.
You like a hurricane.
According to all of the best estimates,
slow, wet, and damaging.
Our air and land are cleaner than any time ever recorded. Our water is among the cleanest in the world.
Khary, what are we talking about here?
I don't know. Signed the Outdoors Act. It's the largest investment in our public lands and public parks.
Danny, when they go low, we supposed to go high.
To conservation and to the environment. Now, with regard to climate change,
let's go high or get high, one of the two.
The issue is,
but no, Danny, don't do it.
President Trump has made it
don't do it, girl. Don't do it.
Now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. They'd impose their green.
This is why I be carrying all that shit around with me, because people be getting slick,
increase the energy costs of American families in their homes.
See what's going on in the chat?
Literally would crush American jobs. And President Trump.
You won't give me the control.
The progress that we have.
That's what's going on
in a cleaner environment.
And I let the chat just do it.
It's been happening precisely because we have a strong free market.
Yeah, you do.
You know what's remarkable?
And I be checking the chat.
The United States has reduced CO2.
Like, I only see somebody's comment because it comes across the screen going forward. Because if I see one more captain, lieutenant, officer, man down, bomb, all that.
Which Senator, the
I see it one more time, Khary.
Go look at the record. I know Joe Biden says otherwise now, as you do, but the both of you repeatedly committed to abolishing fossil fuel and banning.
Barry, honey, we just have to watch the words that we use. And
innovation, we're actually steering toward a stronger.
Choose our words carefully.
With regard to wildfires, President Trump and I believe that
Danny, if you don't, I'm done. I'm going to go back on mute.
Governor Gavin Newsom from your state has agreed we've got to work on forest management. And with regard to hurricanes, the National Oceanic Administration tells us that actually as difficult as they are,
Thank you, Vice President.
there are no more hurricanes today than there were 100 years ago.
Thank you.
But many of the climate alarmists
President Pence, I'm
use
sorry, your time
hurricanes
is up.
and wildfires to try and
Thank
sell
you,
their
Vice
bill of
President
goods of a
Pence.
Green New Deal.
She does
Real
need a mute
question
button.
for anyone that's
Thank you.
watching the debate on a
American
different
workers
source.
First.
Senator Harris,
Do you
as
see
the Vice President mentioned, you
Pence's
co-sponsored the
left
Green
eye
Deal in
whenever
Congress.
he looks towards
But Vice
Kamala?
President Biden said in last
It's
week's debate that
bleeding.
he does not support the
Like
Green New
the
Deal.
retina is
But if
detaching.
you look at the Biden-Harris
All the
campaign
alien
website,
is
it
coming
describes
out.
the Green New Deal as a crucial framework. What exactly would be the stance of a Biden-Harris administration toward the Green New Deal? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. So first of all, I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact. I will repeat that Joe Biden has been very clear that he thinks about growing jobs, which is why he will not increase taxes for anyone who makes less than $400,000 a year. Joe Biden's economic plan, Moody's, which is a reputable Wall Street firm, has said will create 7 million more jobs than Donald Trump's. And part of those jobs that will be created by Joe Biden are going to be about clean energy and renewable energy. Because you see, Joe understands that the west coast of our country is burning, including my home state of California. Joe sees what is happening on the Gulf states, which are being battered by storms. Joe has seen and talked with the farmers in Iowa, whose entire crops have been destroyed because of floods. And so Joe believes, again, in science. I'll tell you something, Susan. I served, when I first got to the Senate, on the committee that's responsible for the environment. Do you know this administration took the word science off the website and then took the phrase climate change off the website?
Hey, house guests, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Khari's
saying we're going to deal with it, but we're also
Definitely, that definitely helps.
Donald Trump, when
the algorithm, you know.
California, and the question was, you know, the science is telling us this. You know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know. So let's talk about who is prepared to lead our country over the course of the next 4 years on what is an existential threat to us as human beings. Joe is about saying we're going to invest that in renewable energy. It's going to be about the creation of millions of jobs. We will achieve net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan. This has been a lot of talk from the Trump administration, and really it has been to go backward instead of forward. We will also re-enter the climate agreement with pride.
Senator Harris just said that climate change is an existential threat.
What up, Wayne? Glad you joined. Hope your day was good, man.
An existential threat.
As I said, Susan, the climate is changing. We'll follow the science. But once again, Senator Harris is denying the fact that they're going to raise taxes on every American. Joe Biden.
Are there any contact tracers in the chat? Can anyone tell me if retina bleeding is a sign of Rona?
Tax cuts delivered $2,000 in tax relief.
Because Pence definitely has some.
Across America. And with regard to banning fracking, I just recommend that people look at the record. You yourself said repeatedly that you would ban fracking. You were the first Senate co-sponsor of the Green New Deal. And while Joe Biden denied the Green New Deal, Susan, thank you for pointing out, the Green New Deal is on their campaign website. And as USA Today said, it's essentially the same plan as you co-sponsored with AOC when she submitted it in the Senate. And you just heard the senator say that she's going to resubmit America to the Paris Climate Accord. Look, the American people have always cherished our environment. We'll continue to cherish it. We've made great progress reducing CO2 emissions through American innovation and the development of natural gas through fracking. We don't need a massive $2 trillion Green New Deal that would impose all new mandates on American businesses.
Yaya said your eyes
families.
turn red with COVID. Both mine turned bloodshot
4
red.
million
Thank you, Vice
American
President.
business buildings. It makes no sense. It will cost jobs. President Trump is going to put America first. He's going to put jobs first, and we're going to take care of our environment and follow the science.
Thank you, Vice
But,
President.
on the issue of jobs,
Senator Harris.
let's talk about that. The vice president earlier referred to, as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment, the president's trade war with China. You lost that trade war. You lost it. What ended up happening is because of a so-called trade war with China, America lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. Farmers have experienced bankruptcy because of it. We are in a manufacturing recession because of it. And when we look at where this administration has been, there are estimates that by the end of the term of this administration, they will have lost more jobs than almost any other presidential administration. And the American people know what I'm talking about. You know, I think about 20-year-olds. You know, we have a 20-year-old, a 20-something-year-old, who are coming out of high school and college right now, and you're wondering, is there going to be a job there for me? We're looking at people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay rent by the end of the month. Almost half of American renters are worried about whether they're going to be able to pay rent by the end of the month. This is where the economy is in America right now, and it is because of the catastrophe and the failure of leadership of this administration.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you just 15 seconds to respond, because then I want to move on to
Well, I'd love to respond. Look, lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for communist China over the last several decades. And again, Senator Harris, you're entitled to your opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. When Joe Biden was vice president, we lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs, and President Obama said they were never coming back. He said we needed a magic wand to bring them back. In our first 3 years after we cut taxes, rolled back regulation, unleashed American energy, this administration saw 500,000 manufacturing jobs created. And that's exactly the kind of growth we're going to continue to see as we bring our nation through this pandemic. But a Green New Deal, your massive new mandates, your Paris Climate Accord, it's going to kill jobs this time, just like it killed jobs.
I just need to respond very briefly.
15 seconds, and
then we'll move on. Thank you. Joe Biden is responsible for saving America's auto industry, and you voted against it. So let's set the record straight. Thank you.
I'd like to talk about China. We have.
So over here it says, based on data so far, doctors believe 1 to 3% of people with COVID-19 will get conjunctivitis, also called pink
American
eye.
agricultural goods. It's a potential partner in dealing with climate change in North Korea. And in a video
Khary,
tonight,
did you have
President Trump again blamed it for the
I did actually have
coronavirus,
conjunctivitis.
saying China will pay. Vice President Pence, how would you describe our fundamental relationship?
Somebody farted on your pillow.
Adversaries, enemies? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Susan. Well, before I leave that, let me speak to voting records if I can.
2 minutes.
You know, everybody knows that NAFTA cost
I just remember to start the timer
thousands of American factories to close.
Wayne, they bring up Obama for the racists in America. Bringing Obama up for them is like an Achilles heel for some.
American people deserve to know. Senator Kamala Harris was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. It was a huge win for American auto workers. It was a huge win for American farmers, especially dairy in the upper Midwest. But Senator, you said it didn't go far enough on climate change, that you put your radical environmental agenda ahead of American auto workers and ahead of American jobs. The American people deserve to know that. Is probably why Newsweek magazine said that Kamala Harris was the most liberal member of the United States Senate in 2019, more liberal than Bernie Sanders, more liberal than any of the others in the United States Senate. So now, with regard to China, look, Susan, first and foremost, China is to blame for the coronavirus. And President Trump is not happy about it. He's made that very clear, made it clear again today. China and the World Health Organization did not play straight with the American people. They did not let our personnel into China to get information on the coronavirus until the middle of February. Fortunately, President Trump, in dealing with China from the outset of this administration, standing up to China that had been taking advantage of America for decades in the wake of Joe Biden's cheerleading for China, President Trump made that decision before the end of January to suspend all travel from China. And again, the American people deserve to know Joe Biden opposed President Trump's decision to suspend all travel from China. He said it was hysterical. He said it was
Thank you, Vice
xenophobic.
President Pence.
But President Trump has
Vice President
stood
Pence,
up
your
to
time is
China.
up.
We're going to continue to stand strong.
Thank you, Vice President
His
Pence.
We want
time
to
is
improve
up.
the relationship, but we're going to level the playing field, and we're going to hold
Vice
China
President-
Yo,
accountable
B.
for what they did to America with the coronavirus.
Thank you. Senator Harris, let me ask you the same question that I asked the Vice President. How would you describe our fundamental relationship with China? Are we competitors, adversaries, enemies? You'll have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
2 minutes.
Susan,
He gets on my nerve because all he does is repeat show points.
An approach to China has
He called Joe
resulted in
Biden
American
a
lives,
cheerleader for China.
American
He's saying
jobs,
Trump
and
closed
America's
the
standing.
borders for China. Okay, we get it. We
There's a
know.
weird
And people still
obsession
die
that
due to your
President Trump has
ignorance
had
going
with getting
forward.
rid of
Like, are you
whatever
kidding me, sir?
accomplishment
Did you
was
say
achieved by President
going
Obama and
forward?
Vice President Biden. For example, they created within
You
the
know,
White House
I go
an
back and
office
forth from being
that basically
British.
was responsible for monitoring pandemics. They got away. They got rid of it.
Not true.
There was a team of disease
Yeah, he always got to
experts
interject. I
that
think he
President
took some Trump
Obama
lessons.
and Vice President Biden dispatched to China to monitor what is now predictable and what might happen. They pulled them out. We now are looking at
Yaya's comment.
210,000 Americans who have lost their lives. Let's look at the job situation. We mentioned before the trade deal, the trade war, they wanted to call it, with China. It resulted in the loss of over 300 manufacturing jobs and a manufacturing recession, and the American consumer paying thousands of dollars more for goods because of that failed war that they called it. Then let's talk about standing. Pew, a reputable research firm, has done an analysis that shows that leaders of all of our formerly allied countries have now decided that they hold in greater esteem and respect Xi Jinping, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, than they do Donald Trump, the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief.
Someone on my Facebook timeline said Pence looks like an alien wearing a human skin suit.
Senator Harris, we've
he don't
seen
look the
changes
greatest.
in the role of the United States in terms of global leadership over the past 4 years. And of course, times do change. What's your definition? We've seen strains with China, of course, as the Vice President mentioned. We've seen strains with our traditional allies in NATO and elsewhere. What is your definition of the role of American leadership in 2020?
So, you know, Joe is, I love talking with Joe about a lot of these issues. And, you know, Joe, I think he said it quite well. He says, you know, foreign policy, it might sound complicated, but really it's relationships. So just think about it as relationships. And so we know this in our personal and professional relationships. You got to keep your word to your friends. You got to be loyal to your friends. People who've stood with you, got to stand with them. You got to know who your adversaries are and keep them in check. But what we've seen with Donald Trump is that he has betrayed our friends and embraced dictators around the world.
Yo,
Let's
Trump,
take,
I
for
look
example,
crazy. Pence,
Russia.
I look crazy, yo.
So, Russia, I serve on the Intelligence Committee of the United States Senate.
Oh, shit.
America's intelligence community
Yeah.
told us Russia interfered in the election of the President of the United States in 2016 and is
First
planning
of
in
all, take that
2020.
photo down. That is
Christopher
not
Wray, the director
Pence.
of
That
the
was a
FBI,
picture
said the
of
same.
Biden.
But Donald Trump, the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America,
That was a
first to
picture
take
of
the word
Biden.
of Vladimir
Let me show
Putin
you.
over the word
They
of the American
superimposed a
intelligence
photo of Biden, and
You
that's
look
not
at
how
our
Pence's
friends
eye
at
looked.
NATO. He has walked away from agreements.
hit the
You can
wrong
talk,
button.
look at the Iran nuclear deal,
me
which
show you.
now has put us in a position where we are less safe because they are building up what might end up being a significant nuclear arsenal. We were in that deal, guys. We were in the Iran nuclear deal with friends, with allies around the country, and because of
Somebody
Donald Trump's
photoshopped that
unilateral
one.
approach to
Like,
foreign
he
policy,
wasn't in the
coupled with
ring.
his
It
isolation,
is red, and it does look
he
like it's
pulled us
bleeding.
out and has
However,
made
that
America less
wasn't
safe.
the
So,
correct
Susan,
photo.
it's about relationships. And the thing that has
Yeah.
always been part of the strength of our nation,
Yeah, it's
in
more
addition
like
to
that.
our great military, has been
Exactly.
that we keep our word. But Donald
I don't know what the hell you were showing before.
because he doesn't
It was
understand
it was the wrong
what
side.
it means to be honest.
Thank you,
split screen
thank you,
joint.
Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me give you a chance to respond.
Well, thank you. Well, President Trump kept his word when we moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of the state of Israel. When Joe Biden was vice president, they promised to do that, and they never did. We stood strong with our allies. But we've
You
been
should look
demanding.
crazy.
NATO is now
Somebody start a
contributing more to our
GoFund for
common defense
Pence.
than ever before,
shit.
thanks to President Trump's leadership. We've strengthened our alliances across the Asia Pacific.
Check it out. This is what they say.
And we've
like.
stood strong against those who would do us harm. You know, when President Trump came into office, ISIS had
I
captured
hate
an
the
area
internet,
of the Middle East the size
but the
of
internet
Pennsylvania.
wins again.
President Trump unleashed the American military, and our armed forces destroyed the ISIS caliphate and took down their leader, al-Baghdadi, without one American casualty. Al-Baghdadi was responsible for the death of thousands. But notably, America's hearts today are with the family of Kayla Mueller, her parents of which are here with us tonight in Salt Lake City. Today, two of the ISIS killers responsible for Kayla Mueller's murder were brought to justice in the United States. Jihadi John was killed on the battlefield along with the other beetle. The reality is that when Joe Biden was vice president, we had an opportunity to save Kayla Mueller. It breaks my heart to reflect on it, but the military came into the Oval Office, presented a plan. They said they knew where Kayla was. Baghdadi had held her for 18 months, abused her mercilessly before they killed her. But when Joe Biden was vice president, they hesitated for a month. And when armed forces finally went in, it was clear she'd been moved 2 days earlier. And her family says with a heart that broke the heart of every American that if President Donald Trump had been president, they believe Kayla would be alive today.
Thank you, Vice
Look,
President.
we destroyed the ISIS caliphate. And you talk about re-entering the Iran nuclear deal.
He doesn't know how to
The
just
last
stop when he's supposed to
administration
stop. Huh?
transferred $1.8 billion to the leading state sponsor
Thank you, Vice
of
President.
terrorism. President Donald Trump got us out of the deal.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
And when Qasem Soleimani was traveling
Thank you,
to
Vice
Baghdad
President
to harm
Trent
to
Pence.
Americans, President Donald Trump took
Thank you,
them
Vice
out.
President Pence.
And America is safer, our allies are safer, and the American people know President Donald Trump will never
Wrap
Thank
it
you,
up,
Vice
B.
President.
take action.
I would like to give Senator Harris a chance to respond, but not at such great length, because of course there are other topics we want to talk about.
But I would like equal time.
Yes.
They need to let me host the and moderate
First of all, to the Mueller
debates
family,
and shit.
I know about your daughter's case, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What happened to her is awful, and it should have never happened. And I know Joe feels the same way. And I know that President Obama feels the same way. But you mentioned Soleimani. Let's start there. So after the strike on Soleimani, there was a counter strike on our troops in Iraq. And they suffered serious brain injuries. And do you know what Donald Trump dismissed them as? Headaches. And this is about a pattern of Donald Trump's, where he has referred to our men who are serving in our military as suckers and losers. Donald Trump, who went to Arlington Cemetery and stood above the graves of our fallen heroes and said, what's in it for them? Because of course, you know, he only thinks about what's in it for him. Let's take what he said about John McCain, a great American hero. And Donald Trump says he doesn't deserve to be called a hero because he was a prisoner of war. And this is very important when you want to talk about who is the current commander-in-chief and what they care about and what they don't care about. Public reporting that Russia had bounties on the heads of American soldiers. And you know what a bounty is? It's somebody puts a price on your head and they will pay it if you are killed. And Donald Trump had talked at least 6 times to Vladimir Putin and never brought up the subject. Joe Biden would never do that.
Thank you.
Joe Biden would, but Joe Biden would hold Russia to account for any threat to our nation's security or to our troops who are sacrificing their lives for the sake of our democracy and our safety.
Thank you, Senator Harris. This is such an important issue, but we have other important issues as well, and I want to make sure we have a chance.
I really have
talk
to respond to that.
Look,
she has
15 seconds because
well, I got to have
trying
more
to
than
keep.
that. Look,
well, I'm sorry, Vice President,
look,
but you've had more time than she's had so far.
The slanders against President Donald Trump regarding men and women of our armed forces are absurd.
I'm sorry, Vice President
My son
Pence.
is a captain in the United
Yes.
States Marine Corps. My son-in-law is deployed in the United States Navy. I can assure all of you, with sons and daughters serving in our military, President Donald Trump not only respects but reveres all of those who serve in our armed forces, and any suggestion otherwise is ridiculous.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
The American people deserve, Susan, the American people deserve to know.
Vice President Pence, I did not, excuse me,
Susan, the
I did
American
not
people
create
deserve
the
to know
rules for tonight.
Joe Biden.
Your campaigns agreed to the rules for tonight's debate with the Commission on Presidential Debates. I'm here to enforce them, which involves moving from one topic to another, giving roughly equal time to both of you, which is what I'm trying very hard to do.
Go right ahead.
So I want to go ahead and move to the next topic,
Shut
which
the
is
fuck
an
up.
important one, as the last topic was, and that is the Supreme Court. On Monday, the Senate Judiciary Committee is scheduled to open hearings on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to the Supreme Court. Senator Harris, you'll be there as a member of the committee. Yes. Her confirmation would cement the court's conservative majority and make it likely open to more abortion restrictions, even to overturning the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling. Access to abortion would then be up to the states. Vice President Pence, you're the former governor of Indiana. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want Indiana to do? Would you want your home state to ban all abortions? You have 2 minutes, uninterrupted.
Well, thank you for the question, but I'll use a little bit of my time to respond to that very important issue before. The American people deserve to know Qasem Soleimani, the Iranian general, was responsible for the death of hundreds of American service members. When the opportunity came, we saw him headed to Baghdad to kill more Americans. President Trump didn't hesitate, and Qasem Soleimani is gone. But you deserve to know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually criticized the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani. It's really inexplicable, but with regard to Joe Biden, it's explainable. Because history records that Joe Biden actually opposed the raid against Osama bin Laden. It's absolutely essential that we have a commander-in-chief who will not hesitate to act to protect American lives and to protect American service members, and that's what you have in President Donald Trump. Now, with regard to the Supreme Court of the United States, let me say President Trump and I could not be more enthusiastic about the opportunity to see Judge Amy Coney Barrett become Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She's a brilliant woman, and she will bring a lifetime of experience and a sizable American family to the Supreme Court of the United States. And our hope is, in the hearing next week, unlike Justice Kavanaugh received with treatment from you and others, we hope she gets a fair hearing. And we particularly hope that we don't see the kind of attacks on her Christian faith that we saw before. I mean, the Democrat chairman of the Judiciary Committee before, when Judge Barrett was being confirmed for the Court of Appeals, expressed concern that the dogma of her faith lived loudly in her. Dick Durbin of Illinois said that it was a concern. Senator, I know one of our judicial nominees, you actually attacked because they were a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus, just because the Knights of Columbus holds pro-life views and
Thank you,
views.
Vice President Pence.
So
Your
my
time
hope
is
is
up.
that when the hearing takes
Time
place,
is up. He's always going over his fucking
Judge Amy Coney
time.
Barrett will be respected.
Thank you,
treated
Vice President.
respectfully,
Always.
voted and confirmed
Thank
to the
you.
Supreme Court of the United States.
Senator Harris, you're the senator from and former Attorney General of California. So let me ask you a parallel question to the one I posed to the Vice President. If Roe v. Wade is overturned, what would you want California to do? Would you want your home state to enact no restrictions on access to abortion? And you have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Thank you, Susan. First of all, Joe Biden and I are both people of faith, and it's insulting to suggest that we would knock anyone for their faith. And in fact, Joe, if elected, will be only the second practicing Catholic as President of the United States. On the issue of this nomination, Joe and I are very clear, as are the majority of the American people. We are 27 days before the decision about who will be the next president of the United States. And, you know, before, when this conversation has come up, you know, it's been about election year or election time. We're literally in an election. Over 4 million people have voted. People are in the process of voting right now. And so Joe has been very clear, as the American people are. Let the American people fill that seat in the White House, and then we'll fill that seat on the United States Supreme Court. And to your point, Susan, the issues before us couldn't be more serious. There's the issue of choice, and I will always fight for a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. It should be her decision and not that of Donald Trump and the Vice President, Michael Pence. But let's also look at what else is before the court. It's the Affordable Care Act. Like, literally in the midst of a public health pandemic, when over 210,000 people have died and 7 million people probably have what will be in the future considered a pre-existing condition because you contracted the virus. Donald Trump is in court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And I said it before, and it bears repeating. This means that there will be no more protections, if they win, for people with pre-existing conditions. Yeah. This means that over 20 million people will lose your coverage. It means that if you're under the age of 26, you can't stay on your parents' coverage anymore. And here's the thing. The contrast couldn't be more clear. They're trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Joe Biden is saying, let's expand coverage. Let's give you a choice of a public option or private coverage. Let's bring down premiums.
Thank you, Senator
Let's
Harris.
lower Medicare eligibility to 60.
Thank you, Senator.
That's true leadership.
She gave a little extra time, though, because Pence been going over like
earlier,
crazy all night.
Vice President Pence said the president was committed to maintaining protections for people with pre-existing conditions. But you do have this court case that you are supporting, your administration supporting, that would strike down the Affordable Care Act. The President Trump says that he's going to protect people with pre-existing conditions, but he has not explained how he would do that. And that was one of the toughest nuts to crack when they were passing the Affordable Care Act. So tell us specifically, how would your administration protect Americans with pre-existing conditions to have access to affordable insurance if the Affordable Care Act is struck down?
Well, thank you, Susan. But let me just say, addressing your very first question, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. I'm pro-life. I don't apologize for it. And this is another one of those cases where there's such a dramatic contrast. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. Late-term abortion. They want to increase funding to Planned Parenthood of America. Now, for our part, I would never presume how Judge Amy Coney Barrett would rule on the Supreme Court of the United States, but we'll continue to stand strong for the right to life. When you speak about the Supreme Court, though, I think the American people really deserve an answer, Senator Harris. Are you and Joe Biden going to pack the court if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed? I mean, there have been 29 vacancies on the Supreme Court during presidential election years, from George Washington to Barack Obama. Presidents have nominated in all 29 cases. But your party is actually openly advocating adding seats to the Supreme Court, which has had 9 seats for 150 years, if you don't get your way. This is a classic case of if you can't win by the rules, you're going to change the rules. Now, you've refused to answer the question. Joe Biden has refused to answer the question. So I think the American people would really like to know, if Judge Amy Coney Barrett is confirmed to the Supreme Court of the United States, are you and Joe Biden, if somehow you win this election, going to pack the Supreme Court to get your way?
I'm so glad we went through a little history lesson. Let's do that a little more. In 1864...
Well, I'd like you to answer the question.
No, Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Okay. In 1864, one of the, I think, political heroes, certainly of the president, I assume of you also, Mr. Vice President, is Abraham Lincoln. Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln was up for re-election, and it was 27 days before the election.
Did he say something about
open on the United States Supreme Court?
Changing the
Abraham
rules as we
Lincoln's
go?
party was in charge not only of the
That's
White
what the
House,
Republicans do.
but Honest Abe said
all the time.
it's not the right thing to do. The American people deserve to make the decision.
I feel like we're halfway
about who will be the
through
next
this,
president of the United
so
States.
don't forget,
And then that
make sure
person
you
can
like,
select
share,
who will
and
serve for life
subscribe.
on the highest court of our land. And so Joe and I are very clear. The American people are voting right now, and it should be their decision about who will serve on this most important body for a lifetime.
Thank you,
And
Senator
the
Harris.
people, Susan, are voting right now. They'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once
Come
again
on.
gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you
The
now.
American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court if they somehow win this election. Men and
Mr.
women,
Vice President,
I got to
I
tell you,
think
people across this country, if you cherish our Supreme Court, if you cherish the separation of powers, you need to reject the Biden-Harris ticket. Come November the 3rd, re-elect President Donald Trump, and we'll stand by that separation of powers in a 9-seat Supreme Court.
Yeah, let's talk about packing the court then. Let's talk about the
Please.
fact. Yeah, I'm about to. So the Trump-Pence administration has been, because I sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee, Susan, as you mentioned, and I've witnessed the appointments for lifetime appointments to the federal courts, district courts, courts of appeal. People who are purely ideological, people who have been reviewed by legal professional organizations and found to have been not competent, are substandard. And do you know that of the 50 people who President Trump appointed to the Court of Appeals for lifetime appointments, not one is black? This is what they've been doing. You want to talk about packing a court?
I feel the ether coming on.
All right, thank you, Senator. Let's go on and talk about the issue of racial justice.
I just want the record to reflect she never answered the question. So maybe the next debate, Joe Biden will answer the question. But I think the American people know the answer.
Thank you, Vice President.
Yeah.
In March, Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency technician in Louisville, was shot and killed after police officers executing a search warrant in a narcotics investigation broke into her apartment. The police said they identified themselves. Taylor's boyfriend said he didn't hear them do that.
This should be interesting.
He used a gun registered to him to fire a shot, which wounded an officer. The officers then fired more than 20 rounds into the apartment. They say they were acting in self-defense. None of them have been indicted in connection with her death. Senator Harris, in the case of Breonna Taylor, was justice done?
This should be very
You have 2
interesting.
minutes.
I don't believe so. And I've talked with Breonna's mother, Tamika Palmer, and her family. And her family deserves justice. She was a beautiful young woman. She had as her life goal to become a nurse, and she wanted to become an EMT to first learn what's going on out on the street so she could then become a nurse and save lives. And her life was taken unjustifiably and tragically and violently. And it brings me to, the 8 minutes and 46 seconds that America witnessed, during which an American man was tortured and killed under the knee of an armed, uniformed police officer. And people around our country of every race, of every age, of every gender, perfect strangers to each other, marched shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, fighting for us to finally achieve that ideal of equal justice under law. And I was a part of those peaceful protests.
During which?
And
Senator Harris will not blatantly go against the police. She is still a politician. She has to be careful of what she says. Police organizations do hold a lot of weight when it comes to electing officials.
Look, and I'm a former career prosecutor.
Yeah, she already
I know what
answered
I'm
the question
talking
now.
about. Bad cops are bad for good cops. We need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system, which is why Joe and I will immediately ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if we did that. We will require a national registry for police officers who break the law. We will, on the issue of criminal justice reform, get rid of private prisons and cash bail. And we will decriminalize marijuana. And we will expunge the records of those who have been convicted of marijuana. This is the time for leadership on a tragic issue of unarmed Black people in America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Vice President Pence, let me pose the same question to you.
Okay.
In the
I like
case
what she
of
said
Breonna
there.
Taylor,
At the
was
end.
justice done? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Well, our heart breaks for the loss of any innocent American life.
Damn.
The family of Breonna Taylor has our sympathies. But I trust our justice system, a grand jury that refused the evidence. And it really is remarkable that as a
they wasn't given the evidence.
You would assume that an impaneled grand jury looking at all the evidence got it wrong, but you're entitled to your opinion, Senator.
They wasn't given any of the evidence.
George Floyd, there's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd. And justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed. I mean, it really is astonishing. Flora Westbrook is with us here tonight in Salt Lake City. Just a few weeks ago, I stood at what used to be her salon. Was burned to the ground by rioters and looters. And Flora is still trying to put her life back together. And I must tell you, this presumption that you hear consistently from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Boo!
That America is systemically racist. And that, as Joe Biden said, that he believes that law enforcement has an implicit bias against minorities is a great
But the fuck he means there was no reason for the rioting and looting.
I want everyone.
We have this conversation all the time. They riot and loot after their favorite baseball, football, basketball team wins. Don't let it be on a college campus. That shit is in flames. Are you kidding me?
And Democrats. Senator Harris, you got up and walked out of the room. And then you
So the question was,
Tim Scott's bill on the Senate floor
was justice served for Breonna Taylor?
Resources, but we don't have
his
to
answer
choose
is no.
between support.
No, his answer is yes.
Improving public safety and supporting our African American neighbors and all of our minorities. Under President Trump's leadership, we always stand with.
No, his answer was yes. He said he felt the justice system worked.
Correct. His answer was yes.
Thank you, Vice
Record
President
unemployment, record investments in education. And
he believes that the grand jury did their job.
Senator Harris.
And by his answer, he clearly has not doesn't know about the grand jury tapes.
I am the only one on this stage who has personally prosecuted everything from child sexual assault to homicide. I'm the only one on this stage who has prosecuted the big banks for taking advantage of America's homeowners. I'm the only one on this stage who prosecuted for-profit colleges for taking advantage of our veterans. And the reality of this is that we are talking about an election in 27 days, where last week the President of the United States—
Oh my God, why does he have a fly on his head?
And refused to condemn white supremacists.
Not true.
And
not true.
It wasn't like he didn't have a chance. He didn't do it, and then he doubled down. And then he said, when pressed, stand back, stand by. And this is part of a pattern of Donald Trump's. He called Mexicans rapists and
it's
criminals.
Official. Pence is the Walking Dead. That fly should not still be sitting there.
On the issue of Charlottesville, where people were peacefully protesting the need for racial justice, where a young woman was killed, and on the other side there were neo-Nazis carrying tiki torches, shouting racial epithets, anti-Semitic slurs. And Donald Trump, when asked about it, said there were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the President of the United States. And America, you deserve better. Joe Biden will be a president who brings our country together.
Senator Harris.
And recognizes the beauty in our diversity and the fact that we all have so much more in common than what separates us.
Vice President Pence, let me give you a minute to respond.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that very much. You know, I think this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media so much in this country, Susan, is that you selectively edit, just like Senator Harris did, comments that President Trump and I and others on our side of the aisle make. I mean, Senator Harris conveniently omitted, after the president made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so repeatedly. You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American
A lot of people grandparents are
racist. But you talk
racist.
about having personally prosecuted. I'm glad you brought up your record, Senator.
Thank you.
I really need to make this point. When you were DA in San Francisco, when you left office, African Americans were 19 times more likely to be prosecuted for minor drug offenses than whites and Hispanics. When you were Attorney General of California, you increased the disproportionate incarceration of blacks in California. You did nothing on criminal justice reform in California. You didn't lift a finger to pass the first step back on Capitol Hill. I mean, the reality is your record speaks for itself. President Trump and I have fought for criminal justice reform.
Thank you, Vice President.
He rehearsed this hard.
And opportunities for African Americans, all of our
Thank you, sir.
And we'll do it for 4 more
Thank you.
years.
You know, there is no more
he rehearsed that
important
hard.
issue than the final issue
He
that we're
rehearsed
going to
that one
talk
for
about
real.
tonight, and that is the issue of the election itself.
Susan, he attacked my record. I would like an opportunity to respond.
Let me give you 30 seconds because we're running out of
said,
time.
let me
Appreciate that.
clap
First
back.
of all, having served as the Attorney General of the state of California, the work that I did is a model of what our nation needs to do, and we will be able to do under a Joe Biden presidency. Our agenda includes what this administration has failed to do. It will be about not only instituting a ban on chokeholds and carotid holes.
Thank you.
Not only.
Thank you, Senator
I
Harris.
would like to go through.
These are points that you made earlier in the hour, and I want to talk about the election itself before we have to.
But I want to talk
hold it
about
down.
the
She's
connection
trying to hold it
between what
down.
Joe and I will do and my record, which includes I was the first statewide officer to institute a requirement that my agents would wear body cameras and keep them on full time. We were the first to initiate a requirement that there would be a training for law enforcement on implicit bias because, yes, Joe Biden and I recognize that implicit bias does exist, Mr. Vice President, contrary to what you may believe. We did the work of instituting reforms that were about investing in reentry. This is the work that we have done and the work we will do going forward. And again, I will not be lectured by the Vice President on our record of what we have done in terms of law enforcement and keeping our communities safe and a commitment to reforming the criminal justice system of America.
Thank you, Senator Harris. And I'd like to pose I'd like you to respond first to the question on our final topic, the election itself. President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If your ticket wins and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what steps would you and Vice President Biden then take? What would happen next? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll tell you,
2 minutes.
Joe and I are, I think, particularly proud of the coalition that we've built around our campaign. We probably have one of the broadest coalitions of folks that you've ever seen in a presidential race. Of course, we have the support of Democrats, but also independents and Republicans. In fact, 7 members of President George W. Bush's cabinet are supporting our ticket. We have the support of Colin Powell, Cindy McCain, John Kasich, over 500 generals, retired generals, and former national security experts and advisors are supporting our campaign. And I believe they are doing that because they know that Joe Biden has a deep, deep-seated commitment to fight for our democracy and to fight for the integrity of our democracy and to bring integrity back to the White House. And so we believe in the American people. We believe in our democracy. And here's what I'd like to say to everybody. Vote. Please vote. Vote early. Come up with a plan to vote. Go to iwillvote.com. You can also go to joebiden.com. We have it within our power in these next 27 days to make the decision about what will be the course of our country for the next 4 years. And it is within our power, and if we use our vote and we use our voice, we will win. And we will not let anyone subvert our democracy with what Donald Trump has been doing, as he did on the debate stage last week, when again in front of 70 million people, he openly attempted to suppress the vote. Joe Biden, on the other hand, on that same debate stage, because clearly Donald Trump doesn't think he can run on a record because it's a failed record, Joe Biden on that stage said, hey, just please vote. So I'll repeat what Joe said. Please vote.
Thank you, Senator. Vice President Pence, President Trump has several times refused to commit himself to a peaceful transfer of power after the election. If Vice President Biden is declared the winner and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what would be your role and responsibility as Vice President? What would you personally do? You have 2 minutes.
Well, Susan, first and foremost, I think we're going to win this election. Because while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris rattle off a long litany of the establishment in Washington, D.C., an establishment that Joe Biden's been a part of for 47 years, President Donald Trump has launched a movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. And I have every confidence that those same Americans...
I hear you, Mark. So if I may, who are you voting for November 3rd?
Our military. We revived our economy through tax cuts and rolling back regulation, fighting for fair trade, unleashing American energy. We appointed conservatives to our federal courts at every level. And we stood with the men and women of law enforcement every single day. And I think that movement of Americans has only grown stronger in the last 4 years. But when you talk about accepting the outcome of the election, I must tell you, Senator, your party has spent the last 3.5 years trying to overturn the results of the last election. It's amazing. When Joe Biden was Vice President of the United States, the FBI actually spied on President Trump and my campaign. I mean, there were documents released this week that the CIA actually made a referral to the FBI documenting that those allegations were coming from the Hillary Clinton campaign. And of course, we've all seen the avalanche, what you put the country through for the better part of 3 years, until it was found that there was no obstruction, no collusion, case closed. And then, Senator Harris, you and your colleagues in the Congress tried to impeach the President of the United States over a phone call. And now Hillary Clinton has actually said to Joe Biden that in her words, under no circumstances should he concede the election. So let me just say, I think we're going to win this election. President Trump and I are fighting every day in courthouses to prevent Joe Biden and Kamala Harris from changing the rules and creating this universal mail-in voting that will create a massive opportunity for voter fraud. And we have a free and fair election. We know we're going to have confidence in it. And I believe in all my heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
You know,
That's false.
I've written all the questions that
And why the hell does he keep bringing
debate,
up Hillary?
I'd like to write a...
That's what they always do.
Someone else
That's
wrote.
their go-to.
The Utah
Hillary.
Debate Commission asked students in the state to write essays about what they would like to ask you. And I want to close tonight's debate with the question posed by Brecklin Brown. She's an 8th grader at Springville Junior High in Springville,
8th grade
Utah.
question.
And here's what she wrote, quote, "When I watch the news, all I see is arguing between Democrats and Republicans. When I watch the news, all I see is citizen fighting against citizen. When I watch the news, all I see are 2 candidates from opposing parties trying to tear each other down. If our leaders can't get along, how are the citizens supposed to get along?" And then she added, "Your examples could make all the difference to bring us together," end quote. So to each of you in turn, I'd like you to take 1 minute and respond to Brecklin. Vice President Pence, you have 1 minute.
Brecklin, it's a wonderful question. And let me just commend you for taking an interest in public life. I started following the news when I was very young. And in America, we believe in a free and open exchange of debate. And we celebrate that. And it's how we've created literally the freest and most prosperous nation in the history of the world. But I would tell you that don't assume that what you're seeing on your local news networks is synonymous with the American people. You know, I look at the relationship between Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late justice who we just lost from the Supreme Court, and the late Justice Antonin Scalia. They were on polar opposites on the Supreme Court of the United States, one very liberal, one very conservative. But what's been learned since her passing was the two of them and their families were the very closest of friends.
Time up,
here
B.
in America,
That's a
we
minute.
can disagree. We can debate vigorously, as Senator Harris and I have on this stage tonight. But when the debate is over, we come together as Americans. And that's what people do in big cities and small towns all across this country. So I just want to encourage you, Brecklin. I want to tell you that we're going to work every day to have government as good as our people. And the American people each and every day love a good debate. We love a good argument. But we always come together and are always there for one another.
Thank you,
in
Vice
times of
President.
need. And we've especially learned that
Thank you,
through
Mr.
the
Vice President.
difficulties of this year.
Senator Harris, what would you say to Brecklin?
First of all, I love hearing from our young leaders. And when I hear her words, when I hear your words, Brecklin, I know our future is bright because it is that perspective on who we are and who we should be that is a sign of leadership and is something we should all aspire to be. And that, you know, that brings me to Joe. Joe Biden, one of the reasons that Joe decided to run for president is after Charlottesville, which we talked about earlier. It so troubled him and upset him, like it did all of us, that there was that kind of hate and division. What propelled Joe to run for president was to see that over the course of the last 4 years, what Brecklin described has been happening. Joe has a long-standing reputation of working across the aisle and working in a bipartisan way. And that's what he's going to do as president. Joe Biden has a history of lifting people up and fighting for their dignity. You mean you have to know Joe's story to know that Joe has known pain, he has known suffering, and he has known love. And so, Brecklin, when you think about the future, I do believe the future is bright. And it will be because of your leadership, and it will be because we fight for each person's voice through their vote, and we get engaged in this election because you have the ability through your work and through eventually your vote
Thank you,
to
Senator
determine
Harris.
the future of our country and what its
Gave
leadership
him about
looks
equal
like.
time. He spoke over,
Thank
so
you,
she gave about
Senator
equal
Harris.
time.
Thank you, Vice President Pence. Thank you so much
Got
for
some
being with
interesting
us tonight.
conversations going on in the
We
chat
want to
too with
thank
our house
also
guests.
the University of Utah for its hospitality, and most of all, our thanks to all the Americans who watched this debate tonight. Again,
Yeah,
our
looks
best
like the
wishes for
debate
a
is
quick
wrapping
recovery
up.
to President Trump, the First Lady, and everyone who is battling COVID-19. The second presidential debate is next week on October 15th.
Next week,
Town hall
October
style debate in
15th.
Miami. We hope you'll join
Do we
us
think
there.
Trump is going to be there? What you think? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And he made their mask.
yeah. I thought this debate was a little more civil.
Absolutely.
A lot more
I
civil, I
agree.
should say.
Oh.
I think a good song for the end of this battle. What? What? Okay.
What? What song is that, Khary? I think a good song for this would be Young Jock's I Know You See It. Talking about Pence's eye.
That's ether right there, you know?
I know you see it. I know.
Yeah, how long they gonna be standing there like that for?
I don't
Yeah.
know. But that eye and old Ma kissed Pa on the same eye. Ugh.
But we're gonna be taking I just opened up the phone lines. You know, if anybody wanna call, give us your thoughts on what you thought about tonight's battle.
Hold on. Do you notice that Pence stands the same way as Trump?
Better known as a debate. Does he? let me take that back.
They
for a
got
minute.
this weird stiff, like try to poke out your chest, stick out your butt thing going on. It's weird.
Let's see.
It's just so weird.
Yeah. Trump, Pence, it looks like Pence tries to be like Trump sometimes.
Absolutely.
Did you ever
he's
see
like,
that?
You're my hero, bro.
Did you ever see that video from where they was at like some meeting and Trump took his bottle and put it on the floor, then all of a sudden Pence grabbed his bottle and put it on the floor?
It's monkey see, monkey do. Monifa in the chat said because they need colonics. I agree, B. I agree. Because they are full of it.
Let me see something real quick. I wanna try something. What's that? Oh, so you can see what's going on Twitter? Yo, Twitter be popping, yo. Twitter be popping. But what you thought of the debate? What you thought of the debate? Yeah, it wasn't a shit show like the last one. You know, it wasn't a shit show.
It's not a circus.
Right, it wasn't a shit show. Let's see. Can you hear now?
Yeah. Oh, they can't hear me?
I think they can hear you now.
Oh.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we good.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a shit show like last time, like the last debate. You know, the last debate was silly. Trump just made that shit silly.
Well, Trump is a clown. I mean, come on. You know he is. Come on.
I thought
FYI, Twitter is Petty by Mimi. Go fig.
That's your new Twitter, Petty by Mimi?
I already followed Khary's crib.
You didn't have a Twitter before?
No.
All right, I'm gonna have to.
Because I use Twitter for work. I'm like, don't want to do it.
Got you. I find these fucking this shit is hilarious to me though. This Twitter's criticism of Pence is fucking funny as hell. This one right here got me. I think this is my fave so far.
Agreed.
I think that was my fave.
Definitely agreed.
Yeah, but it looks like Pence probably did take some pointers from Trump on how to just, it don't matter if the time is up, just keep talking, you know? Mm-hmm. You're the vice president, don't let them tell you that you can't talk, you know? They need to let me go, and I will definitely play some music and shit like that. You'd be like, yo, B, it's time to wrap it up, B, you know? You know, I'm not sure if you heard it, but I actually played music a couple of times where he kept going. I was like, all right, yo, it's time to wrap it up.
There's a Twitter already. Why doesn't it already have more likes than me?
What
Fly
is it?
in Mike Pence's hair.
That's a Twitter already?
Oh my God. It said, hi everyone, I'm on TV. Oh shit. I can't.
Fly Mike Pence here. Yeah.
I'm fucking up.
Yeah, I thought this one was a lot more civilized, though, a lot more presidential and shit like that. I didn't really learn much new at all. You know, I learned that Pence knows how to answer questions long-winded and avoid actually answering them.
Pence was actually a radio host.
Okay. All right.
So he's good at this.
So he knows how to bullshit and just draw shit out, drag shit out. You know. How do I talk for 5 minutes without saying nothing? Oh,
exactly.
I got that nailed. Bam. You know, and that's what he does. The Breonna Taylor question.
That's why he also sounds way more composed.
You know, the Breonna Taylor question, I think, was easy for Kamala, but a little more complicated for Pence. You know, because Kamala could say, no, there wasn't justice, and still not shit on the justice system. You know? Pence started his rebuttal with, I feel for the family, but
exactly.
I feel like justice was done. They had the evidence and this and that, which makes me feel like, oh, so you're not up on the actual news that's going on. It was what's happening in the world, because clearly they didn't get all the evidence, you know? So as Pence, the Attorney General actually released a statement saying, yeah, we didn't give him all the evidence.
So Pence does what his constituency does. They read the headlines. They get the cliff notes.
Right.
You know, they don't
care. They don't actually care.
No.
That's what I get from it.
That's why they're able, Pence and Trump and the whole Republican team, they're able to spew lies because their people aren't going to go check.
Right. Right. They just take what they're given and say, this is it. Because they don't.
I don't know if it was Botox, Thea. Thea in the chat said Pence seems like he had too much Botox. Nah.
Why?
But somebody definitely sipped him something, because that fly on his head, that was nasty.
Yeah, that shit.
And it was there for a minute.
That shit was just chilling. That was good. How's everybody feeling tonight?
Like, ooh, look at me. Ooh.
Man, there was a lot of Trump questions though too. You know, there was or was there a lot of Trump questions, or was he just bringing up Trump?
He was just bringing up Trump.
Okay.
They didn't ask much about Trump. Senator Harris mentioned him, but it wasn't much talk of Trump.
Okay, except for the stand back, stand by shit. Other than that. Okay. Yeah, so I didn't learn much. I wish there would have been questions about their black agendas. When's that gonna come up? You know, because supposedly Trump has his platinum plan. I think that's what it's called, right? Is that what he called it? The platinum plan for black people? You didn't hear about that? I might be making up the name, but Trump plan for black people, but it only comes into effect if he gets reelected. He said, you know. Let's see, what did he say?
Khary.
What? You
definitely bring out some different house guests during the week. Boy. I tell you.
What was Trump's plan called?
I don't know.
Yeah, here's Trump's quote unquote platinum plan for black Americans that he's set to roll out in ATL.
Why does it happen? Of course it would be in Atlanta.
This was a story in September 25th. But Biden also has a plan for black Americans that they don't really talk about like that. But it would have been interesting to see how they both would have answered for both their plans for black America. You know, because I was actually looking in the chat earlier, and there was a couple of comments on, so what's the black agenda? What's the, you know, who has the black agenda in mind? And nobody really has the black agenda in mind, but this is the closest we get to hearing a black agenda from either one of them, I think, is their plan. You know, a lot of, okay, and I say like this, campaign time, there's always plans. Not all the plans actually happen, you know?
Exactly.
So, it's good to talk about, so.
Danny said the fly is talking about getting tested for COVID tomorrow.
And Wayne said he came to ATL 2 weeks ago.
I hope he didn't go to a strip club.
Went there 2 weeks ago, and I think that's where he revealed his platinum plan. Yeah. I don't believe it until I see it actually take place. So I'm not really using that as a determining factor for whether I'm voting for either one of them. I personally think that Trump scares me. And I mean, like, he scares me as in if there's anybody that might start a nuclear war, is that guy, you know, or instigate it, you know, and that's the main reason I don't want him in office, because he scares me like that, because he's arrogant enough to say and do some stupid shit that would dead ass destroy the planet. And that's pretty much my primary reason I don't like the guy.
Well, the good thing about that is he doesn't have, he isn't able to press the button on his own.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm just saying he's the type of person to put things in motion. You know, I think he's very dangerous, like Thea just said. Actually, yeah, I think he's very dangerous. I think he's the type of person that, I think he's Biff. You know. I'm telling you, I think somebody went back in time and gave this motherfucker an almanac and shit. And yeah.
So Yaya asked, so who won the debate? Honestly, I don't see a clear winner.
Yeah, I think the winner pretty much determines who you're actually going for to begin with. You know,
right.
That's what I think. I think if you're a Trump supporter, Kamala said a bunch of bullshit. If you're a Biden supporter, Pence said a bunch of bullshit. That's what I think. That's how I think people might feel about this. I think I think that question would be better suited for the people that are still undecided and that these debates are actually trying to win over. You know, these debates are for those people, those few people that are undecided.
Have the admin control.
You know? Why?
Khary, give me the admin control. House guys, can y'all please tell Khary to give me the admin control so I can control some of this chat?
No, just let the chat. You gotta let the chat just be the chat, you know? The chat is fun.
We see that Khary and I differ in the way we moderate.
Yeah, I believe in the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, I believe in control.
unless you're the president of the United States. But yeah, I really don't. That's one of the main things that actually drove that point for me is he helped a whole city decide the fate of children, you know, with his advertisement back in the days, you know, with the Central Park shit. And even after they were exonerated, he never apologized. He actually said that he would do it again.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, that type of arrogance, I can't fuck with you, B. You know, you see you're clearly wrong, but you just still won't admit it because you're just that arrogant, you know, so.
But that's it. Danny said, give me authority. Do you think that's his ego?
Definitely. You know, I definitely think that's his ego, and he loves it. He loves it.
Thank you for asking that question, Kia. I appreciate you, dear.
You know? Let's see.
I don't have a whole lot to say about tonight's debate. Like, there wasn't any one-line zingers that really caught me.
Yeah.
How about you?
The only things that kind of caught me is what people are probably gonna end up using against Kamala when this debate is her pretty much shutting Pence down a couple of times. Pretty much being like, no, look, I'm talking, you let me finish. You know what I'm saying? You had your time, I'm gonna have my time, you know?
No, I don't, but you know what? I feel like that needs to happen.
Yes, that needs to happen,
they do
but
need to be checked.
I think they're gonna use that against her because she's a black woman.
Well, then
And
that'll
they-
just
and
tell.
they're gonna say it's gonna be a white woman on probably like Fox or some shit like that that's gonna make a comment about, oh, and did you see when Kamala's was talking about that? You know, she gonna do the next shit.
They're gonna throw it. They're gonna say she was swirling her neck.
Yeah,
She suck her teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That'll just bring up the prejudices that they already have.
Mm-hmm.
And Thea, I'm not being messy. I'm being Mimi. This is me day.
I think that they're gonna try to.
I'm sorry, Berry. You did not say that. What you said was ghetto.
And
I didn't try to block you. I don't have the authority yet.
But I think that's what some of the platforms will try to use to make her look unfit for the vice presidential position. You know?
Thank you, Thea. I love you.
My thoughts. You know? Other than that, there really wasn't no
it wasn't very memorable.
Yeah. There wasn't very actually I guess there was. I was about to say there wasn't many memeable moments, but there was quite a few memeable moments. His eye,
and
the fly.
Those are the two things.
Let's see. Yeah, they don't do shit for the inner city. They do shit for middle America. They don't do shit for the inner city.
Monifa in the chat said it wasn't a robust fight. I don't believe that it has to be a fight in order for it to be insightful. Yeah.
Okay.
They can bring up new points. They can make their points abundantly clear. Well, or clearer. They can probably explain down some of the shit that they've said in the past or some of their actions. That would be helpful. I think that's what makes a debate worthwhile.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else they're saying over here in the chat. It wasn't a landslide yet, was it?
Danny asked, what happens if you have to use the bathroom or the restroom in these long ass debates? Girl, I already had to go make a pee-pee twice. So I don't know. Maybe they got on Depends.
Let's see. In urban America is gentrified. Yeah, it is gentrified like a motherfucker nowadays. Did you see that? There's a movie on Netflix called Vampires versus the Bronx or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. I just read the title. I read the description and it said a gentrified Bronx area. I'm like, what gentrified Bronx area? God,
are they talking about where we live?
I don't think so. They battle vampires.
Think about Pelham Gardens.
And why should be an area that's been gentrified for forever?
Probably where we live.
No, not there. What is it? Like no, what's like the edge of the Bronx? Like
we are the edge of the Bronx. Are you kidding me?
No. Like what is it, like Bronxdale or some shit? It's like Riverdale or some shit like that.
Not
that. No, there's I forget what it's called. I forget the area, but it's in the Bronx. But people act like it's not the Bronx, but it's the Bronx.
Riverdale.
Yes, that's what it's. Yes.
But Riverdale ain't no better because it's wedged in the Bronx, right between the south side of Yonkers. Are you kidding me?
Right, but it's always been kind of gentrified. You know.
Well, it's a huge Jewish population over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know. Nah, but it was a lame debate, you know. I like the moderator did her best to keep it in check without having to mute people's mics. You know, she kind of tried to put the foot down a couple of times on Pence. You know, she didn't kind of let Pence just keep going. She let Pence go a couple of times, but I did recall I actually had the timer on the bottom. You know, the 2 minutes, and there was times where Pence went over, and she actually let Kamala go over before she's saying, all right, you're out of time.
Yeah, she tried to give them equal time. Whenever Pence went over, she gave Kamala the extra seconds or so.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty good. I'm not sure if the last dude did that or not.
Nah, he did. He was cutting everybody off.
Yeah.
Except for Trump.
And this one lasted about, what, an hour and a half?
Hour and a half.
Yeah, not bad. Mm-hmm. So the next debate is going to be next week. Next week on the 15th, which is a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
All right, I guess I'll probably stream that one too. That one's going to be interesting. That one's going to be a shit show. I should probably get a couple of sound effects on here, right?
I hope they have a little acrylic box for Trump to go in with his COVID AIDS.
I need like boo, nigga. Yeah, I don't need boy. I need like a boo, motherfucker, boo. You know.
You do not have to add the word or the MFO.
What's that?
You do not have to add the.
I should try to get me some like Samuel Jackson clips. I said, shut the fuck up. He got that somewhere in some movie, right? Somewhere. It should be interesting though. All right, but I think that's it for the evening, right? I think we can wrap this up.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm glad everybody tuned in. You know, I'm gonna see about some more sound effects there, and it's gonna be wild for that one, for that Trump Biden shit. I'm gonna get some sound effects for that one. You know, I gotta figure out what's gonna be good for that, for Biden, for Trump.
Do you think that Biden will tell him to shut up and call him a clown again?
Oh, maybe I'll make that a motherfucking audio sample. Biden saying, shut up, but just shut up, man. You're a clown. Man. You're a clown, you know?
He's a clown. Yes. Good night, Thea. Thank you, house guests, for joining us this evening. Make sure before you go, you like and subscribe to Khary's Crib.
Hit that subscribe. You know, hit that share. I think
Danny said, give me authority.
Maybe. I need to figure out. I need to start making clips and stuff so people can share clips and shit like that.
Danny, he not gonna give me authority because I will kick my best friend out. I don't care.
I know. Mimi's quick with the trigger finger, you know. So I don't know. I just gotta let the chat do the chat. You know what I'm saying? Let they do their thing.
I mean, when you dropping Bible verses in Call of Duty passages, you got to go.
They be in and out. All right, but we will be back on Friday at 9 with Khary's Crib Live.
Friday.
You know? Let's see what we got over here. I gotta make a couple of adjustments, make sure shit is proper. I can sign off. I think I messed some things up. My son took over my shit. Don't worry about it. All right. May the rest of your week be great. Do your best to stay sucker free and keep a smile on your face. We out.
Bye.
Yes, Kia Bath and Body says stay tuned for Pence COVID results.
You know what? This was a long debate. I'm gonna go make a pee-pee. Skype isn't too bad, Khary. Khary.
You are now tuned into Khary's Crib. Khary's Crib. Khary's Crib. Khary's Crib.